You see this all the time from the gun-grabbing Democrats when they do their fake news press conferences. When will enough be enough? And it's always the same. It's a bunch of gun-grabbing Democrat politician activists in Raleigh pushing a fresh batch of so-called common sense gun control bills, even though I never see common sense from these people. But let me ask a better question. When will they take responsibility for torching their own cities, their own communities, their own culture, and then blaming law-abiding gun owners like you and me for the results? That's what their entire shtick is. It's a policy proposal in disguise, and it's got nothing to do with fixing violence. It's about shifting the blame for decades of failed Democrat policies onto the gun-owning middle-class people like you and me. So they trot out their frightening numbers, an average of 1,636 gun-related deaths in North Carolina in whatever year they're quoting, as if the gun itself is the problem or the criminal. But they never break it down. So I will. It's suicides. It's justified self-defense. It's criminals shot by police. But here's the big one: gang violence in Democrat-run in inner cities. But we're not allowed to mention that. You're not allowed to notice that going on and then say it out loud, because then you're a racist. You're not allowed to point to the real root cause either: the radical left's intentional wrecking, destruction of the nuclear family, the Marxist dismantling of fatherhood. Have you noticed in the last 25 years how dads are just portrayed everywhere as these big dumb oafs, incapable of leading anything? And the moral rot ever since that they replaced dads with government paycheck, government welfare checks, and discipline with identity politics. So instead, what they do is they manufacture vague, I like to use the term elastic terms like gun violence and gun-related deaths. Because when the problem is nebulous and the enemy is everybody, every gun owner, the solution is always the same. It's more power for them and less freedom for you. And even though we've been pushing permitless carry here with some success lately, let me tell you, the left never quits. They never sleep. They're always working towards their goal, the gun control agenda. So I want to take a look at some of the bills that they're pushing here for a couple of minutes. The first one is House Bill 732. This is their common sense gun regulations omnibus bill. It cracks open federal style restrictions, bans on assault weapons and long guns, mandatory 72-hour waiting periods for purchasing firearms, safe storage, gun lockup mandates, liability insurance, lost and stolen reporting requirements, and limits on magazine capacity. It's like the mega bill from hell when it comes to the radical left's gun control agenda in Raleigh. And I would say, when you look at this bill, it's proof, positive proof, and don't let anyone ever tell you otherwise, that the Democrats absolutely do want to take away your guns. It always makes me chuckle when I see these red shirt radical lying commie mommy brigades come into our comment section and say, nobody wants to take away your guns. Yes, you do, actually. Your legislation says it right in it. Another bill let's look at is Senate Bill 852, universal background checks. Now, sounds great. Doesn't work, just like President Trump would say. This is the hallmark Bloomberg push in any given state that he gets behind this in, and he has dumped hundreds of millions of dollars into pushing this in states for a reason, because it forces every private transfer of a firearm, gun shows, sales, personal sales, private sales, transfers, to go through a government background checks. Now, to state the obvious, criminals don't do this. So if their goal is to make people more safe, The criminals, they're not going to comply. They don't do it. Law-abiding citizens, however, will get cataloged if this bill passes. So another one that they're always pushing, and I don't have the bill number yet. I don't. They push it every year, so I just have to go find it. Red flag gun confiscation laws, and this one's particularly dangerous because there's so many rhino Republicans, fake Republicans, who support this stuff. But they've tried and failed to pass red flag gun confiscation laws, I think every year since 2018. But with Josh Stein newly elected and in the governor's mansion, they're going to try to do it again. Red flag laws are the destruction of due process for gun owners because it allows liberal judges to order your guns confiscated based on one-sided facts. And the first thing you know about it is your door is getting no-knock raided at 5 o'clock in the morning without you ever being charged, tried, or convicted of a crime. You have far more legal rights for traffic violations than you do when it comes to your Second Amendment and red flag laws. There's some other proposals in Raleigh that they're working on, safety mandates and minimum age traps. Part of HB 732 forces liability insurance and dictates essentially what kind of safe that your teenager can use or must use, because bureaucrats know best, not you, when it comes to your family. So when the gun-grabbing commies in the Democrat Party start whining, when will enough be enough? I'll answer that question. When they stop mismanaging the very neighborhoods that their party has left for dead. When they stop replacing fathers with government welfare checks and stop replacing discipline with chaos. When they stop excusing criminals and start defending the innocent. That's when this lawlessness comes to an end. But just so we're clear here, if you think they're going to stop at background checks or waiting periods, even knowing what is in House Bill 732 and Senate Bill 852, you haven't been paying attention. And anybody who was alive during President Otto Penn's regime knows exactly what happened. About every week or at least every other week, he or one of his lieutenants would go into the Rose Garden and stand there and shout, "Ban them! Ban assault weapons!" Or Merrick Garland and Steve Dettelbach at the ATF would just do whatever the heck they wanted to try to make people like you and me felons. They want total gun control. And that, honestly, is why the North Carolina Firearms Association exists. Because this isn't about technicalities. It's about citizens remaining armed and sovereign, or thus, if they don't, becoming subjects of an all-powerful state. Let's not forget this, and I think a lot of times this bears repeating because a lot of our schools aren't teaching this anymore. The Second Amendment is a restriction on government, not on you and me. The Founding Fathers feared criminal governments far more than they feared criminals. You can read the Federalist Papers to see this easily laid out. In history, not even ancient history, modern history, in Poland, Russia, Cambodia, China, it proves them right. Disarmed citizens have been massacred. 45 million innocent citizens slaughtered in the 20th century alone because they couldn't defend themselves from their own genocidal governments. That is the end game of America's gun control movement, making us helpless like those victims. Armed people are citizens, disarmed people are subjects and soon slaves. So here's what we do. We get loud, we get organized, we stay organized, we bury House Bill 732, Senate Bill 852, red flag gun confiscation, every gun grab so deep that they never see daylight. We hold every Republican accountable, and we never, ever beg for the liberty that is ours already given to us by our Almighty God. The fact is, if we let the radical left run North Carolina like they've run their own neighborhoods, the collapse will be swift and brutal. So we're not asking, we're not compromising, we're not backing down. We are armed, we are awake, and we refuse to let these cultural Marxists, these communists in disguise, define the debate. Stay armed, stay free, and I'll see you guys on the front lines.